All right, so get ready because we're about to take a deep dive into a philosophical idea that might just change how you think about truth, like the word true.
Interesting.
We're going to tackle deflationism about truth.
Okay.
And honestly, for a theory that's all about truth, it's surprisingly, down to earth.
Yeah, I think what's really fascinating about deflationism is that it kind of throws out the old rule book on how we usually think about truth.
Right.
Like, instead of trying to define what truth is,
Like those classic theories, right?
exactly, like the correspondence or coherence theories, it
Mm-hmm.
asks a totally different question.
Okay.
It's more like, what does the word true actually do for us? What's its function?
So instead of going on a quest for some hidden essence of truth,
Right.
we're looking at how true works in everyday language.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a linguistic investigation then.
Exactly, precisely. And what the Deflatonists argue is that saying something like, this sunset is beautiful, is true. Is basically, well, the same as just saying, this sunset is beautiful, just without that extra truth.
So, there's no need to add on this extra layer of, truthiness.
Yeah, it's like, why bother?
Okay, but then if it's that simple, why even have the word true?
Ooh, that's where things get interesting, right?
I'm intrigued, yeah.
Imagine, trying to say everything in Shakespeare's plays is accurate,
Oh,
but you
wow.
can't use the word true.
Okay.
I mean, would you have to list out every single fact and event in all of his work?
That sounds like a nightmare.
It would be a nightmare, right?
Yeah.
So that's where true swoops in to save the day.
Like a superhero.
Kind of, yeah, like a linguistic superhero.
Oh,
It's like this mental shortcut that lets us express these really big, sweeping claims.
Without, getting huzzed in the wind.
Without getting bogged down. Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, saying everything on this grocery list is true is so much easier than actually reading out the whole list.
Way easier.
True is it's like a zip file for our brains, right?
I love that analogy.
It compresses all this information
Yeah.
into one neat little word.
Exactly. And that ability to sum up a bunch of claims, that's really central to how deflationists see the word true.
Okay?
They're not looking for some deep hidden meaning about, the universe or reality itself. They
Right.
see it as this powerful tool for making these grand generalizations.
This is all making sense so far, but I'm curious.
Yeah,
Is there just one way to be a deflationist about truth?
that's a great question.
Are there, different flavors of this whole truth minimizing thing?
You're absolutely right, there are. Deflationism, it's not just one big happy family.
Oh, okay.
There are these different camps, each with their own little quirks and spins on it.
Interesting.
So, for example, you have some called sententialists.
Sententialist?
And they focus on the truth of sentences, like
Okay.
the cat is on the mat. Simple, straightforward.
Okay, yeah.
Then you have others called propositionalists,
Propositionalists.
and they're more interested in the underlying meaning of the sentence.
Oh.
The fact that there is a cat actually lounging on a mat.
So it's like sentences versus their deeper meaning, kind of.
It is. It's a subtle distinction,
Right.
but it actually leads to different versions of deflationism.
So it's not just about true being, extra baggage.
Right.
It's also about, what we're even saying is true in the first place.
Exactly.
But would it be fair to say that all deflationists, regardless of what camp they're in,
Yeah.
they agree that true is more like a tool than some big, profound, metaphysical concept?
Exactly. You got it. Now, this might make you wonder, though.
Okay.
If true is just this tool, then how does it fit into explanations?
Oh, interesting.
Because she often say things like, she found the cafe because her belief about the address was true.
Right, right.
So how do deflationists handle that?
Yeah, that does seem tricky.
It does, doesn't it?
It sounds like true is doing some real explanatory work there.
Yeah.
So what are their options? What do they do with that?
Well, they've got a few strategies up their sleeve. One thing they do is they try to show that even in these cases where it seems like true is doing a lot of work,
Yeah.
we can actually rephrase things to avoid using it altogether.
Okay.
So we could take that example, like she found the cafe because her belief about the address was true,
Mm-hmm.
and instead say something like, she found the cafe because she believed it was at 123 Main Street,
Yeah.
and it is at 123 Main Street.
Okay, so you just kind of spell it out.
You spell it out right. It's a little wordier.
Yeah, it is. It's a bit clunky.
Yeah, it's clunkier, for sure.
But I guess it gets the job done,
It does get the job done.
You don't need true.
You don't need that word true, yeah.
But doesn't that get even more clunky when you have, more complex explanations?
It does.
Think about explaining why scientific theories are so successful.
Oh, that's a great point.
We say things like, oh, they work because they're true.
Right, right. And so what do deflationists say about that? Well, they've got an answer for that too, and it's a pretty interesting one.
Okay, I'm listening.
They argue that statements like, say, true beliefs lead to success, that kind of statement, it sounds simple on the surface, right?
Yeah.
But underneath, it's actually hiding a huge amount of complexity.
Oh,
It's
interesting.
like saying, to bake a cake, you need ingredients.
Right, very simple.
Simple, right. But it's actually shorthand for a whole recipe.
Yeah.
A complex set of instructions and all these relationships between the ingredients.
But they're saying true in those explanations.
Yeah.
It's like a placeholder
Kind of.
for this
Yeah.
like whole web of specific conditions and outcomes.
Exactly. Like they'd say, okay, if you believe X and X is actually the case, then you'll be successful in doing Y.
Gotcha.
But true makes us like condense all those if-then statements into
All right.
this one really neat and powerful claim.
So it's that super efficient tool again?
It is.
Okay, I'm starting to see how deflationists handle these, potentially tricky explanations.
Good, good.
But I've also heard that they run into problems
Uh-oh.
when it comes to making those big general claims about truth.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what about a statement like, all mathematical theorems are true?
Mm-hmm.
If true is just about removing redundancy, how do they handle that?
Ah, you've hit on a classic objection.
Have I?
You have. It's called the generalization problem.
Generalization problem. Okay.
And it's a real head-scratcher for deflationists.
So tell me, what is it?
Well, they can easily handle specific cases,
Like,
Snow is white is true if and only if snow is white.
right, that makes sense.
Nice and tidy, right?
Yeah.
But when we start talking about all true statements as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
things get a bit slippery.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
So it's like they can tell us what makes a specific sentence true,
right.
but they struggle to explain what makes all true sentences true.
Precisely. And that's where things get really, really philosophically interesting.
Ooh, I like where this is going.
Some deflationists try to bring in more complex logical tools to solve this, but
Oh.
even those solutions, they often run into a whole other set of challenges.
So it's like an ongoing debate then.
It is, absolutely. It's a debate that's still raging in the philosophical world.
So not a clear-cut answer yet for deflationism.
Yeah.
Okay, but I've always wondered about this.
Yeah.
Let's say, for argument's sake, the deflationists are right,
Okay.
and true is just this linguistic tool, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does that change how we think about things like honesty or knowledge?
That is a fantastic question, and it gets right to the heart of what some philosophers call the normativity objection to deflationism.
Normativity, okay.
The idea is that we often talk about truth as something valuable, something we should aim for.
Right, like, although the truth.
Exactly. We tell our kids to tell the truth, scientists are striving for true theories, and so on.
It's like a good thing, right?
Right? Yeah, it has this weight to it.
But if true is just this deflationary tool, this empty word, then how can it have that kind of moral weight? How can it guide us?
That's the worry some philosophers have.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like, is true supposed to guide our actions and beliefs?
Mm-hmm.
But if it's just a shortcut, does that, undermine its authority? Are we being tricked by a word?
Right. Are we putting too big stock in something that's not really there?
Exactly.
So how do deflationists respond to that?
Well, they argue that we can still talk about honesty and the pursuit of knowledge
Okay.
without needing to put truth up on this pedestal.
So instead of saying you should believe what's true,
Yeah.
what do you say?
You could say something like, you should believe what's supported by the evidence.
Oh, okay.
Or you should be consistent in your beliefs.
So it's about the methods, the way we get to our beliefs.
It is. It's about those underlying values and practices.
Rather than appealing to truth as this, ultimate goal.
Exactly. They see true as a way of, summing up those values, but not the source of them.
It's like a shorthand again?
Yeah, a shorthand for this whole set of norms and practices that we're already following anyway.
That's a pretty elegant way to handle that whole normativity problem.
Right.
But what about sentences that don't seem to fit neatly into that true or false box?
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
Like, what about moral statements?
Mm-hmm.
Or those, self-contradictory paradoxes that just make your head spin?
Ah, yes. The problem of truth-value gap.
Truth-value gaps, okay.
This is where things get a bit metaphysically murky,
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
We tend to think of sentences as being either true or false, right?
Yeah, like a binary.
Black or white, true or false.
But it's not always that simple, is it?
It's not. What about statements like, stealing is wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Or, this sentence is false, that classic one.
Yeah, those are tricky.
They just don't seem to fit neatly into either category, do they?
No, they don't.
Stealing is wrong feels more like you're expressing values, not describing some fact about the world.
Right, it's different.
And then that paradoxical sentence, oh, it just makes your head spin.
It does, it does.
So what do deflationists do with these? Well, they have to get a bit creative.
I bet.
Some of them argue that these kinds of sentences, they're just not truth-apt at all.
Not truth app.
Meaning they're not even in the running for being true or false.
Oh,
It's
interesting.
like they're playing a whole different language game.
So they might be meaningful, but not in the same way that, like, a factual statement is.
Exactly. And then as for those mind-bending paradoxes,
Yeah, those are tough ones.
some deflationists just say, nope, those don't express coherent propositions.
So it's like trying to figure out the truth value of just like a random string of words.
Exactly. It's nonsensical.
Okay.
Now, other deflationists, they take an even more radical approach.
Ooh, tell me.
They suggest that maybe, just maybe, some sentences can be both true and false.
Whoa, hold on. That's like breaking the rules of logic.
They're willing to shake things up a bit.
They're rebels. So even when faced with these truth value gaps, deflationists aren't backing down.
Nope.
They're finding ways to, like, sidestep the issue,
Mm-hmm.
reinterpret it,
Yeah.
or even, like, totally revise our basic assumptions about logic.
Exactly. And these cases, they really show how deflationism isn't just this simple, straightforward theory.
Right.
It's more like this flexible framework that forces us to really examine what we think about truth.
And meaning, even.
And meaning, absolutely. And the limits of language itself.
So it goes deep?
It goes deep, but you know what? Even with all these clever responses and strategies,
Yeah.
there's one final challenge we need to talk about.
Oh, is this the knockout punch?
It might be. It questions how deflationism can deal with the whole relationship between truth and meaning.
Okay, I'm all ears.
So remember, deflationists, they say that truth, it doesn't really add any new content to what we're saying.
Right. It's like that handy linguistic tool.
Exactly.
But, yeah, I feel like there's a but coming.
There is a but. The problem is this. If true is so empty, if it's really just a tool and doesn't have inherent meaning,
Mm-hmm.
how can it play such a huge role in how we understand meaning itself?
Okay, wait, hold on. Back up for a second.
Sure.
Explain that connection between truth and meaning to me.
Okay, so think about how we usually explain what a sentence means, right?
Right.
We might say, like, this sentence means that, and then we point to something in the world.
Right, like the sky is blue means that the sky is actually blue.
Exactly. The sentence is true if and only if reality matches up with what it says.
So it's like truth is this bridge between our words and, like, the actual world out there.
Exactly. And that's where the tension with deflationism comes in.
Okay, I'm sensing this tension.
Yeah, there are philosophers who hold this view of meaning.
Okay.
It's called truth conditional semantics.
Truth conditional semantics.
And they argue that truth can't be both the foundation of meaning and a meaningless tool at the same time.
Right, because that just wouldn't make sense.
It wouldn't. It'd be like trying to build a house on a foundation of sand.
Oh, so it's a circularity problem then.
It is.
We're using truth to explain what meaning is, but then we're saying truth itself doesn't have any deeper meaning.
Yeah, it gets a bit shaky.
That does sound shaky. Yeah.
It does. So are deflationists just stuck with this problem?
Yeah, are they doomed?
Well, not necessarily.
Okay, good.
They have a couple of ways to respond, and one way is to just totally reject truth conditional semantics.
Just get rid of it.
They might say, hey, if that view of meaning doesn't work with deflationism, then maybe we need a whole new way of understanding meaning.
That's pretty radical.
It is. It's a bold code for sure.
So they're saying we're scrapping the whole truth is foundation idea.
Yep. What else could be used instead? Well, there are all sorts of alternative theories out there.
Like what?
Some philosophers, they focus on how we use sentences in arguments and inferences.
Okay, so it's about the function of language.
Yeah, others look at like the social context of language, how we use words in different settings. And some even get into the brain itself, how we process language at a neurological level.
So it's like they're opening up this whole new world of meaning, but it doesn't have truth at the center of it anymore.
Exactly.
But, I mean, even if they can do that, get rid of that circularity problem.
Yeah,
Doesn't it still feel like truth plays some role in how we grasp meaning?
that is a great point.
Like, we want our beliefs to be true, right? We want our statements to actually reflect how things are in the world.
That's a very natural intuition.
So is that something deflationism just can't account for?
Well, some philosophers argue that even if deflationism can survive without truth conditional semantics, it still needs to explain that intuitive link.
It's not enough to just, like, dodge the problem,
It's
right?
not enough to dodge it.
They need to tell us how truth actually fits into the picture of meaning, even if it is just this tool.
Exactly. And some deflationists have stepped up to the plate, have tried to do that.
Oh, okay. Tell me more about that.
They say, okay, maybe true doesn't have some big, grand, metaphysical meaning,
Right.
but it still plays this crucial role in how we grasp the relationship between language and the world.
So I'm thinking it like a signpost.
Okay,
It's not the destination itself, but it points us in the right direction.
I like that.
It tells us, like, hey, if you want your sentence to be meaningful, check if it matches up with reality.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
So it helps us navigate that whole messy world of meaning, but without getting bogged down in all those philosophical debates about what truth actually is.
Exactly. And you see, even this really tough objection to deflationism,
Mm-hmm.
it hasn't shut it down. It's actually led to all these new ideas and explorations.
It's pushed them to think harder, basically.
It has. It's forced them to clarify their position, to really think about how to understand truth and meaning and how they all fit together with language.
So this whole deep dive into deflationism,
Yeah.
it's been a wild ride. I mean, we've seen how they handle explanations, generalizations, even those crazy paradoxes and truth value gaps.
We've covered a lot of ground.
And even when they're hit with this ultimate challenge about meaning, they're not giving up.
They're tenacious.
They're coming up with creative solutions. They're pushing the boundaries of philosophical thought.
And that's what I find so exciting about it, you know?
Yeah.
The seemingly simple idea that true is just a tool, it can lead to such rich and complex discussions about some of the most fundamental questions in philosophy.
And that's what I love about philosophy in general.
Me too.
It's not about finding those easy answers. It's about really embracing the complexity of these questions and seeing all the different ways we can try to make sense of the world, you know?
Absolutely.
So, dear listener, what do you think? Is true just a convenient shortcut, or is there something more to it? Keep pondering. The philosophical waters run deep.